We have a guest in today. His name is Christopher. Go ahead, Christopher. You can do introductions.
So, yes, my legal name is Christopher Roki. If a professor types in my Z number, that's what comes up. That's on my email account. But for the last 6 years, I was initiated into a Indic spiritual tradition called Vaishnavism, or Krishna consciousness. And at that time, I received the name Krishna Keshava. So I've been going by that name for the last 6 years, actually.
Okay. So who gave you the name? Sorry, go ahead.
It's all right. My initiating guru.
Okay, gotcha.
It was given by the guru. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you. This is Krishna consciousness? Well, how about you want to explain what Krishna consciousness is?
Sure. So, the tradition in India for thousands of years has been called Vaishnavism. It's basically one of the most practiced spiritual traditions out of the diverse traditions that are there in India.
Okay.
And basically came to the Western world in the 1960s, and eventually found its way to the person who's my teacher and guru, and found its way to me through him. So the practice of Krishna consciousness is to help our worldview, the way we see reality, become very holistic, and it's of course a theistic worldview.
Okay, yeah.
To see the hand of God in everything, and to see our relationship with God and try to cultivate that.
Okay, so that's what I was heading towards. So Krishna is that's God, right? Or the name of God?
Yes. There's actually the Krishna consciousness practice. It comes from the Vedic literature, the Vedic scriptures of India.
Okay.
And it says there that actually God has an infinite amount of names.
Okay.
So Krishna, what it means is all attractive, but there are other names of God that actually have different meanings.
Okay, so it's a name and a descriptor, sort of,
Yes.
and for that reason, there's many of them.
Yeah.
Because and those other names, are they descriptors too, like
They are,
attribute descriptors, sort of?
Basically, like a function, like a relational description.
Okay.
It's the example is given that it's a personal theistic conception. So we see God as the supreme person.
Yeah.
But just as any finite person like you or I, your cousin knows you as a cousin. I know you as a friend, perhaps.
Sure.
If you get married, your spouse knows you as a spouse.
Yeah.
So those are all different designations, actually, that have very particular relationships. You wouldn't act like a spouse to me. You wouldn't act like a cousin to your spouse.
Right.
So you or any individual actually has various, almost an infinite number of names, so to speak.
Right, to refer.
Yeah.
And you're saying in a relationship, there is some reference to in the relationship as well.
Exactly.
So now how does that operate with the name Krishna? Like, is that to say, you said that's ultimate attractive, or?
All attractive.
All attractive. So does that mean it's a descriptor, but it's also to relate to that's the ultimate attraction is God, basically?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Very, very interesting. Well, that makes sense. That's a good analogy. You have family members and friends, and you describe them in different ways to describe not just them, but the relationship.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
And so that's a little. Is there anything you want to get any kind of just basics out of the way for Krishna consciousness before we go any further? Like as far as just really any kind of intro type of.
Yeah. I'd say as far as a theistic conception is concerned, as I mentioned, it's a personal theistic, means God is seen as a person, not impersonal, because there are also impersonal spiritual lineages in India.
Okay.
But we find that the personal past, the personal perspective of what the Vedas, the scriptures are saying, is a more precise and more exact reading of what the literature is saying, and also leads to a much more fulfilling worldview, actually.
Okay, so what's the distinction between personal and impersonal worship? Like, what's the delineation there?
So basically, when something is impersonal, you can't really have a relationship with it.
Okay. Because
a relationship means it's a two-way street.
Sure.
So when something is impersonal, from the perspective which is called Kevala Dvaita Vedanta,
okay.
fancy word. Basically, it means everything is one without any differences.
Okay.
If ultimate reality has no differences and our job is to realize that,
Okay.
then relation is no longer possible. Relationship, love, sweetness, those things.
Because everything, it's like universalism type of thinking.
Well, it's just homogenous, like that
Okay,
word.
everything's the same.
Yeah, there's no differentiation.
Okay.
So rather, the personal theism is saying, yes, everything is one, everything is connected,
Okay.
but there are differences there. Like the human body is one body, but the hands have a different function and form than the legs or the heart or the head.
Right.
So it's one, but it's differentiated at the same time.
Right, and that would sort of, I would think, get into the idea of, which I have in my list of questions, divine hierarchy, which is like, so when we talk about Krishna, like you worship Krishna, right? And you're not, so like, is there, you shouldn't worship your family member, right? Like there's some kind of hierarchy to the religion, is that right?
So, if I understand what you're saying, yes, the ontology, if you will, is seen as a whole.
Okay.
So the whole, the energy must go, so from the finite side, the energy, we have to give our energy in a certain place in order for the whole to have a healthy function, basically.
Okay.
So I'll get to what that means theistically, but first give the example of a more empirical thing, something that we're used to.
Okay.
When we water a tree, right? We're trying to put the energy at the roots of the tree.
Right.
And that way the tree flourishes.
Okay.
But if you try to water a branch or a fruit or a leaf,
right,
that's simply just not where the energy is supposed to go for the whole to flourish.
Okay.
Similarly, when we're eating,
if
we try to put food, it's a little silly in our ears or in our nose, like simply that doesn't.
Yeah, there's no benefit.
No benefit.
Right.
But when we put the food in our mouth and through the stomach, then the energy is dispersed to all the parts properly.
Right, okay.
So the Krishna consciousness perspective is that by developing a loving service relationship, that would be the form of worship, a loving service relationship with Krishna, then actually this is the way that you're giving your energy to the whole in a proper way. Then all our relationships with friends and family can be most healthy, essentially.
Okay, so you're saying that the relationship with Krishna feeds the rest of your relationships here.
Yes, that's the ideal.
Now, I need like clarification about this point. You can't, are there rules against worship? I said your father, but any human being, would that be against your religion, or is there anything about that?
Worshipping another human being?
Yeah, or, because I know, I would say another God, but I know that, and we'll get into this too, but I know that you, from what I've researched anyway, there are other gods that you worship, but they're all either parts of Krishna or servants of Krishna. Is that correct?
Yes, it's nice of you.
Yeah, okay, so that's why I'm not saying other gods. I'm saying, let's say another human. Would there be some rule or law against that, or would that not? I know that,
That's
maybe that.
Interesting question, and there's actually, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
So the practical way in which one cultivates that loving service relationship from the Krishna consciousness perspective is actually through one particular very special human being that is living.
Okay.
The guru.
Oh, okay.
So it's called disciplic succession, or guru parampara. In order to cultivate our consciousness, in order to essentially make a transition from a conditioned state where our mindset is purely shaped by our external circumstances and what people have told us here and there, a mix of this, a mix of that, it's all kind of jumbled up.
Right.
In order to kind of purify that kind of mindset and have a more comprehensive, rational, all-inclusive, harmonious, kind of humble, respectful, loving kind of consciousness.
Sure.
Then we need a guru, someone who is qualified to help us.
Gotcha.
And so that, is a very intimate, very special relationship.
Sure, and if you were to paint a hierarchy, he would be sort of, for lack of a better term, above just an average practitioner. I would say they would go to him almost for direction. Okay, and so That's interesting. And so would that be similar? You described succession. What did you call it?
Disciplic succession.
Disciplic succession. So would that be similar to, like in Orthodox churches and Catholic churches, apostolic succession?
Very interesting question. We had an interfaith dialogue with a student from Princeton Theological Seminary about this very topic.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I should be at Princeton.
Go get a MDiv. But yeah, so I would think there is a similarity there in that the idea of a disciplic succession is that it's a living tradition. It's not merely you pick up a dusty book and whatever you get inspired from that book is simply what the path is.
Right.
It's about the book or the scripture is very important, but sometimes people who just go to that, they'll take what's comfortable and leave the rest, and so they're not really making progress in that way.
Okay.
But the guru is there to say, no, actually, you're thinking in this way, but it's not going to help you, and it's a little bit of a perversion of what's being presented. Rather, try to see it this way or go in this direction.
Right. So he's been appointed essentially, or you could, I don't know if you could say appointed or not, but essentially he's directing, he's clarifying things that maybe might be hard to understand for certain, and that's so I would see that as somebody like a priest or especially in the Catholic and Orthodox churches, because they have the hierarchy of the church. So when you need advice or you need some kind of understanding, you go to a bishop or a priest or whatever. So so I think I find that interesting. Now I'll explain why I asked that the apostolic succession question. So my understanding of that within the Greek Orthodox and the Catholic Church is that so basically from the beginning of the church until now, this tradition, like you said, a living tradition, has been passed down through specific selected people. And that tradition, the way it was described to me in a metaphor, as a machinist has these machines, he can only there's only one way to operate these machines, right? And that machinist has, since the beginning, taught his successor the exact way to operate these machines. So what is believed to be in the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church, the tradition, the belief, the understanding has never changed. It started from the beginning and it's been passed down exactly as it started, and it hasn't changed even to today. So is there some relation to that with you, like in the guru? Like, is he a successor to a previous guru? Has he been handed knowledge? Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. So to answer, is he coming from another, does my guru have a guru?
Yeah.
And that guru had a guru? The answer is yes to that question.
Okay.
But as far as a very kind of sharp-edged conception and whatever, the knowledge or the teachings being passed down from guru to disciple, is it this kind of very sharply defined thing?
Yeah.
And actually I would say no.
Okay.
Because the teachings are so universal because they have to basically accommodate the diversity that we experience in our direct life.
Okay.
So
it changes over time then, I guess.
The essence doesn't change.
Sure.
But based on time, place, and circumstance, which are always shifting in this material world, right? Yeah. There are different focuses on society, so the way a message is presented has to also speak to those particular circumstances.
Gotcha. So the message you're saying doesn't change.
The underlying message, which is actually a very simple message, that God exists and the soul exists, and there's an eternal loving relationship of service between the two, and that right now in the material world we might be kind of asleep to that relationship, and we should try to wake up to that relationship. That's kind of like the core of the message. Yeah. And then how to do that in a practical way, how to navigate the psychological experiences we may have, making progress on that path or making backward steps. Those things are are circumstantial,
Yeah.
right? And so the teachings that are passed from guru to disciple are universal and accommodating enough to be able to navigate and handle that kind of.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So that brings me to one of the questions I actually have written down, which is because what the foundation that you described is totally, I fully agree 100% that we are sort of asleep to that right now, and that is what we should be doing. We should be waking up to God and to our relationship with God, and learning more about Him, and trying to become more refined to be better in this world. Is that sort of?
Yeah, there's in one of the bhajans or worshipful songs that the Vaishnava sings, they say Jeev Jago, Gora Chandra Bove. It means wake up, sleeping soul, wake up, sleeping soul. You have an infinite wealth in front of you that you're not recognizing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I agree. I agree with that, and I think that's especially today. There's a lot of Christians who feel the same way, and I would think that, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I would think that there, in my humble opinion, I think there's a lot of distractions right now, and there's a lot of things that are purposely set up to keep us from attaining those things. Do you agree with that?
I think that is the nature of what the material nature itself is.
Okay.
So the material nature is meant to keep our consciousness absorbed in a distraction. Okay. And so that then manifests in many ways, corrupt interests of people, or whatever that is. But that's, I think, as the Vedas describe, that's the underlying nature of illusion of the material world.
Okay.
So those distractions definitely are there.
But you're saying this isn't like, because I would say this was set up purposely by evil people, and you're saying that it's just almost a result of the material world.
I'm saying that. So what you're saying, the intention underlying that is more fundamental to what is the material reality, and it just manifests through those folks. Exactly
right. So it's not so purposefully step by step taken, maybe, is what I would say, which I think that's my personal belief, is that this is all on purpose. It's not sort of a result, but I think if anything, that's what your position is probably true too. I think it's probably a mixture of both, because I definitely think that there are some things that are coming from just materialism and the material world and our situation that is leading to selfishness, greed, those types of things, and they're sort of almost accidental results or something, or not purposeful. There's not some elite group purposely laying these things out to distract you from God, basically. And so I would agree with that, but I'd also say that on the other side of the coin, there is that, to some extent, some high people that don't want you to know God. They don't want you to get in touch with God.
One of the interesting, so my guru's name is Dr. B. Madhavapuri. He has a nonprofit in Princeton called the Bhakti Vedanta Institute of Spiritual Culture and Science, and that's where I met him.
Okay.
And so he pointed out that a part of the process for making progress away from this kind of distraction, it includes 3 different steps, which I hadn't considered before meeting him. It's not just about question and answer with a teacher.
Right.
That's one of the steps, but the 2 other steps is first having a very humble mood.
Okay.
Right? Which you already have used this word humility, so I can see you might value that as well.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a valued thing in the Christian perspective. I feel, not to cut you off, but pride cometh before the fall.
I mean, how humble was Jesus Christ to experience what he went through?
Absolutely.
Inconceivably.
Sure, right.
We have much respect for that.
Yeah.
So that humility, then the questioning, but then the third element, which I hadn't encountered, is this the necessity of service as something which underlies education, a spiritual education.
Okay.
In that, without that third element, we just we can act humble a little bit, ask the questions, take what we want, and run away and exploit it, still for our own benefit, self-centered benefit.
Yeah.
But that element of service, which keeps us.
Can I just clarify, service to who?
So the part of the role of the guru is to help engage their student in devotional service.
Okay.
So that essentially means so from my practical perspective of experiencing this,
Yeah.
engaging in talking about these kind of messages with other folks.
Okay, spreading the word.
Spreading the word,
Sure.
or even how we conduct ourselves in relation to everyone, and the guru himself. Service can also take like a traditional form where you can do things for the,
Yes.
for the guru. Like you're helping you're serving a person, but it's not
Right.
not in like
A hierarchical sense where you're below or anything like that.
yeah, it's in a very loving kind. It's a loving
Right.
relationship.
Sure. And then, so servitude or service, I would say, encompasses sort of mankind, how you would serve in different ways, how you may help someone or how you may serve it. It could be the guru, it could be your neighbor, that type of thing.
It would, so from the perspective of Krishna consciousness, the broader community of humanity,
Yeah.
the service that would be rendered there would actually have to come through the guru.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Because the ideas of the disciplic succession is that it's eventually, at first it was established by an incarnation of the Lord. So in Bhagavad Gita, right?
Yeah.
It's basically a narrative of when Krishna was incarnated on this earth in India
Okay.
5,000 years ago, and he was giving teachings to his cousin and devotee named Arjuna
Okay.
in this war. It's a historical war, which these personalities were really there for.
Yeah.
And so the teachings are established like that. It was an incarnation of the Lord with a devotee, and then passed down. So this living current comes down from Krishna in our tradition.
Yeah.
And then, so our interaction with the broader community is always through that current. So whatever my interactions are presenting or sharing these teachings with the broader community comes through my guru's guidance.
Okay.
It's
right.
not just directly me to the world.
Sure,
it's
right.
through that channel.
Okay, but it's like a working relationship.
Yes.
Okay, and then but you don't go to the guru to say like I'm going to do something charitable.
Mm.
You might go to him to discuss it, but you don't. It's not you give him the. Let's say you were going to donate something. You don't give him the money and he donates. He just advises you basically.
It could be
or-
both.
It could be both.
It could be both.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And I also, real quick,
Sure.
I want to say, just to kind of give a little bit of context for perhaps why this conversation is relevant to my existence as a student here at Stockton
Yeah,
and the Science of Life Club,
yeah,
which hopefully we'll get into a little bit,
absolutely.
is that so I started my undergrad career, so to speak, in 2012 actually.
Okay, wow.
And I took
Nice.
a lot of years off because I wasn't feeling fulfilled with the education I was receiving at the time
Yeah,
and the worldview that I had at the time. And I did a lot of searching, and it wasn't until I met Dr. Puri
yeah,
and was introduced to these teachings that I found not only very serious fulfillment and a comprehensive worldview, but I found the proper motivation to come back to finish my undergrad degree.
yeah, awesome.
And
That's really cool.
yeah, and the Science of Life Club basically came from that as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no judgment, man. I'm older. I'm in my 30s here, completing the
Awesome.
bachelor's. So it's like like no
Us
judgment.
both,
Man.
you and me both.
Yeah, I feel like some people you need to sort of, you're not ready yet when you're that young, and I wasn't. Now I'm speaking for myself. I wasn't ready. I couldn't. What I'm doing, I have 4.0 GPA. That was not happening in my early 20s. Absolutely not.
I really have a 4.0.
Yeah, I know, and it's only because I'm older and wiser, and I'm like more responsible, and I'm a parent now. I have a son, so it's like that kind of molded me into. There's things that I just have to do. I don't have a choice. I can't be a teenager kicking and screaming about it. I just have to do it now.
Nice.
So yeah. And I feel that that's all from God too, and I appreciate I've been very blessed, and I feel that that's all from God. We're starting to get into like the back half of the hour because it's a very interesting conversation.
Definitely.
So I'll try to very quickly, because then we'll move on to the club and we'll talk about AI and technology and stuff. But
Sure.
just to so there's two questions I wanted to get to with you before we wrap this up. So
Yeah.
first of all, we seem to align on a lot of views, at least not necessarily like for lack of a better word, the mystical aspects of our beliefs, but the values, so to speak, right? And I think that's really cool. That's one of the things I ran into when researching Krishna consciousness.
Okay.
And so what I wanted to ask is, number one, the first question I'll ask is, can a member of another religion become a member of Krishna consciousness simultaneously? What is your view on that?
So I would say, so the devotee or acharya means a spiritual teacher, who brought the teachings from India to the States in 1960s, he was very clear about saying, yes, people who are practicing other traditions, by practicing the principles of Bhakti, even by looking at the Bhagavad Gita, they can take a lot of inspiration from that and be enriched in their own faith, actually.
Okay, so, but see, that's kind of like we're getting into, so he wasn't clearly saying you could worship Krishna and worship Yahweh or Jesus Christ, right? Like I guess he didn't say specifically that kind of thing, because I don't know from, I'll just clarify. What I'm asking you is basically, from a Christian perspective, you can't do that. You can't worship another God, right? Like that's just against the whole thing. But it would be interesting to know for other religions if that's possible. And it sounds to me what you're saying is he didn't say a concrete, you can be a Christian and a practitioner of Krishna consciousness, but what he said, which I think maybe even a better answer, is you can gain wisdom and knowledge through learning about Krishna consciousness.
That's valid what you took from that.
Okay.
But I'd also return to something I mentioned at the beginning of our talk, how from the Vaishnava perspective, so God is referred to as Ananta Rupa, means having infinite number of forms.
Okay.
With an infinite number of names.
Okay, right.
So Yahweh, Allah, Krishna, Christ, these no doubt are also referring to particular personalities. I'm not saying Jesus Christ is the same person as Krishna who appeared.
Sure, right.
But the philosophical conception of what is God, the absolute, as the infinite.
Yeah.
Whatever our relation to that is as a finite individual.
Yeah.
Doesn't limit that unity or that oneness of God.
Okay.
So our perspective and our relationship with Jesus as a divinity or Allah as divinity.
Yeah.
These are all different names, but it doesn't mean that these are separate entities. Actually, the God as infinite can be expressed in an infinite number of ways. So it gets a little.
I sort of see what you're saying. So are you saying basically these are sort of versions of Krishna, Jesus?
In the same way as you're a father and a radio host and a friend, those are different versions of you.
Right.
And your son would probably never would have a very strong opposition to thinking of you in the same way your partner thinks of you.
Right, sure.
But you're still the same person to both of them, but it's just a completely different aspect of the relationship, such that one of them could never see you in the same way as the other sees you.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Like, and I think I get what you're saying. So basically, what I think it boils down to is, it seems that from your perspective, that's okay, and from my perspective, it isn't. Like, a Christian can't be a practitioner of Krishna consciousness, but maybe a Krishna consciousness practitioner can follow some Christian beliefs. I don't even see. Basically, my main point is I see these bumper stickers of coexist, and I see that all over the place with all the different religious symbols. And I went and got a bumper sticker that says contradict with all the religious symbols, because the reality is that they contradict each other often. Christianity does not fit with Krishna consciousness, even though there may be a lot of values and similarities and beliefs and stuff like that. I can't be simultaneously both. And so I thought that would be an interesting way to go, not just because from my perspective, but I'm sure there are religions where you can be. And from your perspective, it's all sort of one, I would think. Is that right?
Well, it's one and different. So this is the whole thing. Our finite position and our sectarian affiliations don't limit what God is.
Okay.
There are finite perspective You know, you have, it's like looking out a window in a home. That environment is one environment.
Sure.
But we're in a finite house, and one person's looking through the front window, one person's looking through the back window. They have completely different perspectives.
On the same thing.
They can argue, well, my view doesn't match with your view, but it's because we're looking through a finite perspective at something which is ultimately encompassing both of those perspectives.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair answer, a thoughtful answer to that. And so the last thing, I'm sorry because I think it's interesting though. I like the conversation. So I'll ask one more thing, and that is as far as the guru goes, are there multiple gurus living right now? It's not just one, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not like the Pope or something.
No. There are many different gurus. It's a familiar saying that exists in our Western civilization, which applies, is that when the student is ready, the teacher appears, right?
Okay.
So
yeah.
it's based on the certain mood or qualification of the student.
Yeah.
There are gurus that can help guide them based on where they are.
Okay.
So there are different moods, different levels of realization.
Yeah.
But yes, there are more than one guru, but
Right,
they're different, and they have different perspectives of how to make progress.
Right, that's what I was getting at too. So now, do gurus interpret assertions or verses from the Bhagavad Gita? Do they interpret those and then help somebody who's coming to them understand them? Is that one of the things they do?
Well, the idea of a pure conception is that there's no individual interpretation. It's that through that disciplic succession, the conception is being preserved in a way which preserves the integrity of that initial message, which transcends someone's particular.
Yeah.
You know, they just give their
Place
perspective
and
on what's
time.
being said. Right.
Yeah.
So as my guru has taught, he's not trying to give just his version of it.
Yeah.
He's trying to teach what is the actual thing which is beyond him, which he's representing
Right.
in a very pure way.
Well, that sounds very similar to the Orthodoxy and Catholicism and apostolic succession, like the passing down of the key, and there's only one way. It's not to say that you're saying that, but basically the idea of there's something beyond just the man that the man is protecting and passing down so that it can be conveyed to the world, right? And so and this is the last one, and then we can take a break if you want to get like some water or like use the bathroom or anything. We'll take a quick break if you want to do that. But so I'll just say, so as far as gurus go and their interpretations, how do you know which one would be right? If you have two gurus interpreting the same thing and they come to two different positions, is there one that's right over the other? Is there objective truth at all? Does that exist?
Yeah.
Okay, so one may be right and the other could be wrong.
It's more so as far as the relationship between the guru and the disciple, or how one would find their guru.
Yeah.
It's really a matter of the heart, because if we're saying the essential message is there is God, there is a soul, and there's an eternal loving relationship between the two of them.
Yeah.
And that loving relationship can take an infinite number of forms. They're called rasas in the Vaishnava teachings.
Gotcha.
It could be friendship, like a traditional servant servitude, or one of friendship, or brotherhood, or even parenthood exists.
Cool.
Or in Christianity, the mood is of the fatherhood of God.
Yeah.
So these different relationships are there. So the gurus, to some extent, represent, even in the Vaishnava teachings, even a lover of God is there.
Okay.
So different gurus kind of represent perhaps a different mood or relationship.
Okay, gotcha.
And in that way, the perspective of relationships, of course, like we said before, is very different. Your son and your
Yeah, so right, I get what you're saying. So it's all valuable. It's different perspectives, but they're all valuable, basically.
They're all valuable, but the differences are real. The differences are real,
Yeah.
but they're harmonized. That's the thing.
Yeah, because they're all still part of the same body, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. The whole human body example.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So.
Okay. All right. Well, we could keep going and going, but we'll take maybe a 2-minute break. Are you good with that? I'll just
grab
play
some
a
water.
song. Sure. Perfect. I'm still here with Krishna. What Krishna?
Keshava.
Keshava, Krishna Keshava. He's still here, and we're closing out. We got about 20 minutes left of the interview, so we're gonna get to more. We're gonna get to some stuff Stockton related and the Science of Life Club. So, all right, Krishna, take it away.
All right. Thanks.
Sure.
Again, I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely.
And so we have started the Science of Life Club here at Stockton, basically wanting to have an interdisciplinary approach to studying life and consciousness at the intersection of science, philosophy, and religion.
Okay, cool. That's pretty exciting, actually.
I appreciate that. It turns out Stockton's original mission, as it still exists on the website, has a focus on interdisciplinary approach to education.
Okay.
So we're trying to really tap into that and go deep into it if possible.
Interdisciplinary
means instead of studying science as isolated from philosophy or economics as isolated from psychology, interdisciplinary means all these fields of knowledge or fields of life, I guess, they're not just siloed, independent from each other. They relate to each other.
I love that. That's awesome. That's a great goal.
It's actually not. I can't take credit for that goal. This is the Bhakti Vedanta Institute that I mentioned before in Princeton.
Sure.
Yes. So Dr. Bhimadevapuri was with this institute for a very long time, and this is the mission of that Bhakti Vedanta Institute.
Okay.
This interdisciplinary approach to studying life and consciousness, specifically science, philosophy, and religion, and how historically, conceptually, these fields are related, and how bringing attention to that actually helps us make progress in all of them.
Very cool.
So
that transition. Sorry, so that transition that came from the Princeton, what you just mentioned, and
yes.
and it's. Did he bring that here to Stockton?
Yeah, so me as his student, finishing my degree here at Stockton, in order to see if there was interest in pursuing that, since Stockton already had a tradition of interdisciplinary focus, the Science of Life Club was our way of starting to see what kind of talks can we have with people.
Cool, awesome. And did you start it? You started the club?
Yeah, we started the club back in 2020. So during my sporadic years coming back and forth to Stockton, I did 1 year all online when COVID closed everything down and everything had to be moved online.
Yeah.
So that's when we started the club, and we met with a group of about 4 or 5 of us online for about a year.
Okay.
And then I left again because I had to figure out how to complete the degree online, which I was able to figure out how to do.
Right.
Only last semester though, so now we brought the club back, and we have some serious members, like Nader Henry is our vice president. He's a psychology major and a pre-med student. He's very serious about helping the club and learning what the club has to offer. So there's some promising prospects for the development of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So how many members?
Well, any club needs at least 10 members to officially exist.
Okay.
But
that's a Stockton.
Stockton rule,
yeah.
But the meetings themselves, it fluctuates.
Sure.
Yesterday we had a great meeting with a professor who talked about math and faith, Professor Judith Vogel. She's also associated with the Maple Project.
Yes, I had her for I think Forgotten Crafts. Very nice, very nice lady.
I can share the video with you for talk if you like.
Yeah, sure.
It was awesome.
That'd be great. Yeah, and you can give that out too, like the YouTube channel, the Instagram, any of your social media if you want to promote that stuff too. Yeah.
Thank you. So let me get back to then. What is the Science of Life Club trying to do, or what kind of impact can it have? So it's very much related to the work of that institute, the Princeton Bhakti Vedanta Institute.
Okay.
Because that's how I've seen this kind of approach, interdisciplinary approach, have an impact.
Yeah.
So similar to how with the Krishna consciousness being a personal view of theism, and I mentioned there are also impersonal perspectives.
Right.
Modern science has actually developed in a way which has kind of promoted an impersonal view of reality, in that science, as it's developed over the last few hundred years, doesn't recognize the role of consciousness.
Okay.
The role of the scientist in producing scientific knowledge is kind of ignored. the scientist is assumed to be a passive third-party observer to a objective material world.
Right, exactly.
And consciousness, the person plays no role in that.
Right.
But that, from a philosophical perspective, there are a lot of problems there. And from the scientific perspective, since the dawn of quantum physics, that has also been very shaky, almost falsified.
Absolutely. I mean, from just a material perspective, you're very limited from what you can and can't investigate, even. Yeah, exactly. And I've learned, and a lot of people don't realize this, but I've learned, and I think this is part of what you're saying, which is science doesn't say anything. Scientists say things. You need an interpreter of the data to be able, and that's not it's like what you said with the material.
It's not a joke,
it's not a joke, and it's in that, which is, I think, is pushed on us. It's all material. There is no immaterial world. There is no afterlife. Like, it's not explicitly stated, but it's sort of kind of pushed all the time that this is it. What you see is what you get.
Yeah, but even before getting to the implications it has for conceptions of an afterlife and all that.
Yeah.
More immediate to the interests of modern scientists, it affects their knowledge of biology, actually.
Sure.
Because they think in terms of reductionism and they think a biological organism or a living cell, which is the smallest form of life.
Right.
They think of them as no different than machines, just complex machines.
Yes. That's what they think of us as too.
Exactly.
Moist robots, basically.
Yeah, wetware or something.
Yeah, meat robots, basically. We're all just sort of, it's all sort of accidental.
Yes.
And it's the result of accidental evolution, basically. Yeah, which is hard to grasp, but that's not how it's presented ever. It's almost presented like, oh, we've already decided that. Mm-hmm. Now, here's this stuff that you should ponder on, but this is already decided over here.
This is central to actually what the Princeton Bhakti Vedanta Institute was doing. I brought this book to show you. This is the most recent book written by Dr. Madhavapuri, and this is what the Science of Life Club has used as a foundation for the first meetings of the semester.
Nice.
And
take a look. Sure.
So basically,
idols of the mind.
Idols of the mind versus true reality.
True reality. Nice. Very cool.
So the idea that the idea that we are machines has basically come from an original perversion of Aristotle's causality. Aristotle, an ancient Greek philosopher who is still considered the father of modern biology, which is a testament to the genius of his ideas.
Yeah.
He said that there are 4 aspects of cause: a material, efficient, formal, and final. Where the material cause is like the wood of a chair.
Okay.
And the efficient cause is the carpenter who makes a chair.
Okay, right.
And then the formal aspect of cause is like the blueprint of the chair in the mind of the carpenter.
Okay.
And the final aspect of cause is the purpose of a chair being a seat for an individual.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So the purpose of it. Of it. Right.
Crucial. Right, purpose.
Yeah, right.
So the progress of modern science has eliminated the formal cause, the blueprint, the conceptual blueprint, or conceptual origin, and the purposeful end for which an object exists.
Okay, right.
And they just leave us with the material and efficient, the matter something is made out of, and the forces which kind of shape it.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a big push in science. Many biologists. They have a group called the Third Way of Evolution. They have interacted with our institute many times.
Okay.
Basically.
Sorry, let me stop you real quick.
Yeah.
It's good. I'm recording us right now.
I know, but that too. Okay.
Yeah. So just let you know, the cord is.
I'm just waiting right now. So
okay. Yeah. Just let you know. Yeah. Matt's in here listening. He's into the conversation. So I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No worries. So basically, as far as tracing an origin point to how science got to where it is today, that was a big deal, not including all 4 aspects of cause.
Okay.
And now, eminent scientists have made this point in their literature, and it's affecting a field called systems science, or systems biology, where the purpose that something serves, the purpose that an organism serves, that means the functions of all its bodily.
All of
That's
that.
function means purpose.
Right.
The blood cells, the bone cells, they're serving a purpose for the whole organism.
Yeah, they all have a purpose.
And you can't understand it if you just reduce it to their immediate role in, or you reduce them to molecules. You lose.
Right.
Like one scientist says, the beating of a heart. If you just reduce it to the activity of the molecules, there is no beating. The molecules don't beat.
Right, they're
Only
just
the whole-
molecules in motion. That's
They're just
all it is.
molecules in motion.
Yeah.
But the beating of a heart happens only on the organ level. The
Right.
purpose of that organ level function is for the whole organism to be able to thrive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is an example of how returning to philosophy and having a deeper conception of what's going on there
Yeah.
helps our understanding of science and progresses it.
Right, and I think that's a great explanation, by the way, and I agree with that, and I think that what's really interesting is it's not. I again, I'll go back to the powers that be, like that I've referred to earlier, but also just average people. They really want to classify these things as separate. They specifically science and religion. They want to keep them very separate,
Yes.
and they think that they almost can't coexist. And my feeling is that many times science affirms religious claims. Would you agree with that?
At the meeting we had yesterday with Dr. Vogel,
Yeah.
so as a she was a professor of math in math and science, and that was her message to us as a club yesterday. Dr. Bhimad Vapuri of the Institute, Vedanta Institute, this is his life experience, past 50 years.
Right.
For the past 6 years that I've been involved, I can also affirm that this seems to be the truth.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, we got 6 more minutes. So all right. Tell me a little bit. So, how many members in the club? Like, if you could give a total, not at the meetings, but just a total. Everyone who signed up.
Everyone who signed up, we have like 20 people signed up.
Nice, man. And is it growing? Did you get more this semester? Does it grow every semester?
Well, so this is our second semester back active.
Right. Okay. Sure.
And we have some support from an alumni of the club who graduated here with a master's in occupational therapy. His name was Alex Wheeler. He's been very supportive, which is a testament to the value that students who are members take with them after they graduate.
Yeah.
And so the more that we try to integrate with faculty members who also hold these perspectives, we're able to really also show the students that what we're doing is valuable, and the interest increases. And we're even planning at an event, actually, if I can kind of almost close with.
Sure, absolutely.
We're basically organizing an interdisciplinary panel discussion.
Yeah.
We'd like to have about 5 faculty members so far, so to speak about what we've been speaking about here, from the perspective of their specialties as a psychologist or a mathematician or a biologist or a philosopher. This is the idea.
Okay, cool.
And so far, we've had 2 professors confirm their attendance.
Nice.
One professor of physics, Philip Eaton.
Okay, not familiar.
And he an assistant professor of physics, I believe, and then also a professor of psychology, Marcello Spinella.
I don't know.
He just
I'm a
confirmed
communications
yesterday.
major, so it's like I try to stay away from that. Those aren't my areas, But yeah, that's awesome. And you're looking for more,
We're
or
looking for about 3 more faculty members from different perspectives to be on the panel.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
When is this gonna happen?
So we'd like to have it on a Friday, basically at the end of April. So one of the last 2 Fridays of April we're looking at. It would be in the afternoon, maybe for 2 hours, 2:30 to 4:30, something like that.
Nice.
And we'd like.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, do me a favor, like when you get a firm date and time, if you want to send me a short little, like one of these, a PSA type of thing, short little thing, and then I can have it. We can promote it.
Awesome.
Yeah, man, I would love that. And for anybody who's listening, if this sounds in any way interesting to you, because I'm sure this isn't even all of it.
Right.
I'm sure you guys just have really interesting conversations. I'm sure all kinds of stuff. It's not limited to Krishna consciousness. It's all religious perspectives and philosophical perspectives and stuff. So it sounds exciting, and anybody who's listening, if they're interested in joining the club or speaking with you, is there a way they can reach out to you? Like, would you mind giving info?
Sure. So they can find the club on Osprey Hub, Science of Life Club.
Perfect, yeah.
We also have an Instagram account, Science of Life Club, all one word,
Okay,
underscore Stockton.
nice.
And you're also welcome to reach out to me via email. So my email is rolkec@go.stockton.edu.
Okay, ROLKEC at go.stockton.edu.
That's it.
Yeah, so contact Krishna. Krishna? Should I go? Krishna.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, contact Krishna, and honestly, it sounds like one of the more exciting clubs. Actually, it sounds very. If you're a thinker, if you like these kind of conversations and
Right.
these kind of subjects, absolutely reach out to Krishna. It was a pleasure having you on, man. A great conversation. We didn't even get to the AI stuff, but that's okay. We sort of limited on time. But if you want to come back, anytime you want to come back and promote something or have that discussion, we can absolutely do that.
I'm open to that.
Yeah, okay, great. Well, we'll exchange info, and then you can reach out, or we'll see what happens in the near future.
Sounds good for me.
Yeah, so
Thank you very much.
thank you, Krishna, and we're gonna close out the show, the Blood and Cuts Variety Show. We'll just play a little music to get situated. Play some. Let's see, we'll play some stuff in the background just to get off the air. Take care, Krishna. It was great to have you on. Thank you very much, and please reach out. Please reach out to Krishna if you're interested in joining the Science of Life Club. It sounds very, very interesting. So yeah, check him out. Check out their Instagram and check them out on Osprey Hub, of course. Now.